In 2016, a new TV show hit the digital airwaves and needed a podcast dedicated to chronicling its adventures. An elite team has been assembled for this task. Unfortunately, the world's listeners have not heard of this Wonder Twin duo. And although they may not be known now, in the future they will be referred to as tomorrow's legends.
This is it, Harley. We made it. Mission accomplished. We've reached the end of our first season. Or have we?
I don't know. Maybe we could go back and do it all again. 3 times. That would fill in the time between now and the fall.
Huh. 3 times? Where on Earth 1 do you get that idea from?
Actually, we don't need to fill in time at all. We're time podcasters now, so we can do what we want.
I think maybe giving you that much power over time needs to be rethought through. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, Legendaires. I am the Flash.
And I am Harley Quinn.
You are with us for our inaugural season finale of our first... What am I saying? I don't even know what I'm saying. I'm so excited, Harley.
I know, it's very exciting.
This is the finale of our first season as, like, full-on podcasters covering a show that we have fallen in love with. And here we are at the end.
I know. And we weren't canceled for season 2. How exciting is that?
That's even more exciting news to get all pumped up. But now we're going to feel what this whole wait thing is. I mean, we knew it as TV viewers, but now to be podcasters, to have nothing to do on our Friday nights for the next 6 to 8 months.
I know. It's gonna be kind of weird, although lately we've not been recording on Friday nights, but
no.
My weekend won't be the same.
No, it's like a whole, I don't know, I'm already feeling the sense of loss of, what are we gonna do? I'm gonna miss it.
I know. Well, we'll have to maybe try and do something fun over the summer.
Well, I don't know how many people have saw the Facebook post yet, but we just announced that we are going to do something fun in a couple of weeks at least.
Yes, at least. Yeah, we'll come back for something special. Are we going to? Well, we can announce later.
Yeah, we'll announce that later. But for sure, yeah, maybe during the summertime, maybe we'll come up with an idea, a reason to bring us back, because, we might not be able to stay away for too long.
I know.
Well, all right, we have got lots to get to, because not only was this the finale of Legends of Tomorrow, Season 1, Episode 16, titled Legendary. It's also a big show. We've got a lot to cover. Just a lot of ideas. We got some poll results we want to go over. We got some feedback, but that's going to be something wholly different. We got a bunch of sections that we're filling in. Yeah, it's just, we're busy. This is going to be a big show. So, Legendaires, I hope you're prepared. This may be a long one.
Yep, strap in.
Or put on those little roller coaster shoulder protection things, whatever it is they wear on the Waverider.
Yeah, exactly. There we go.
All right. Well, we got one little tidbit of pre-feedback. We finally got a new iTunes review.
Yes, we did.
So where'd that come from?
So we got this from Yogaban, and she actually sent it in a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
It says April 27th on the post, but I had not checked to give her a shout out, so okay. I just wanted to do that. She says, enthusiastic. I love the banter between the hosts and their enthusiasm for the show. It consistently elevates my opinion of Legends of Tomorrow.
Aw. Actually, that is really nice of you to say, Yogaban. If what we talk about helps raise your opinion of the show, that is, I don't even know how do we describe that. That is an extremely wonderful compliment.
Yeah, no, I mean, and she said that to me before, because I've actually been taking one of her yoga classes, so a little inside baseball. Hope she doesn't mind me calling that out, but I've been taking one of her classes each week, and so we kind of talk about it a little bit, just to see if her opinion's been improving, and she's like, the podcast has really been helping me. It's like, okay, well, that's good. Wow. So we got her to stick with the show. It makes me feel good.
That makes me feel good, too. That is really nice. Thank you so much for that, Yogaban.
Yep.
So we did, I know I launched on our Facebook page a whole bunch of polls because we wanted to find out a bunch of information from our listeners. Part of it was based on that we only get a handful of feedback and we don't quite know everything that we really want to know from you guys. So I thought taking the poll route would be a little bit easier for everybody. And I was quite pleased to see how many people jumped on board and were just answering away. We got a whole bunch of results.
A lot of responses.
Which is great. So thank you, everybody. That helps us out because, we want to keep improving our show and get better and better, especially for next season. We want to come back to you in season 2 feeling like veterans and, really, really deliver a good show for you guys. So we got some results for you. And the first one we were going to talk about is which out of our added feature segments do you enjoy the most? And which it looks like the runaway favorite was the quote of the week, eh, Harley?
Yes. Which is also my favorite.
That's also your favorite, so you were probably quite tickled with that result.
I was. I love the quote of the week. Makes me laugh.
It's actually a lot of fun. It's neat to include the clips and stuff. And I think that might be part of why people enjoy it so much is because I've been adding in the actual clips from the episode, so it kind of reconnects you to the episode that we were talking about. Yeah,
it does. Mm-hmm. It definitely does. And that was what has always drawn me to the quote of the week in the first place. That when I've heard it on other podcasts is I love it when they play the clips from the show and let you vote on them. So.
Right. Cool. So there's that one. What's our second one that we asked?
So we asked, what would you like to see added to our podcast each week? And so
this actually was mixed up. I think there was people all over on what they wanted to have added in.
Yeah, and so what we did is we kind of just tallied up everything and we'll kind of talk about them a little bit. It looks like the discussion of other DC shows, that had the most votes.
Okay.
That's 7 votes. 7 people vote for it.
Yeah, and that, that's talking about Flash and Arrow and I guess Supergirl now too, but both of us have to be watching them.
Yeah, and Current, which is a constant battle for me, and it's going to continue to be a constant battle for me.
Right. But the two of us do watch Flash and Arrow for sure without failure.
Yes.
And we actually started our podcasting, can we call it a career yet?
Sure, we've got a whole season under our belt, why not?
Yeah, we started our career as the Wonder Twins podcast, and it began talking about Arrow and the Flash.
Yeah.
So we actually do have a little bit of that under our belt, and we have always discussed wanting to come back and cover them every once in a while. It's just for fun, just because we both listen to the Arrow Squad and Central City Underground, and that we love those podcasts, but we also have our own feelings and ideas about how the shows went. So maybe every once in a while we could just add in an extra 5 minutes to the podcast, Harley, and talk about those guys at the end of Legends or something.
Yeah, definitely. If I can get myself caught back up. I mean, this obviously for this season, that won't matter. But
yeah, well, yeah, that's something we'll look into because I think it is close to both our hearts still. Anyway, we do love the other shows.
Yeah.
So, we'll find a way to fit that in.
Yeah, just even throw a little Gotham in there periodically.
Yep, even a little Gotham too. That's right. So yeah, we'll try to do that and see what you guys think. Then the second one, the guest hosts, was another highly voted one.
Yeah.
So that, when I actually titled that guest host, I was meaning like how we had Kevin, the Overlord, in here with us. Mm-hmm. I was referring that to as host from other podcasts to come in with us.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking that was fun. It was awesome to have the Overlord in here with us. So I believe when I posted this poll, I think Jeff Gentry was the very first one who responded, and he immediately picked guest host.
Guest host.
We'll have to talk to him. Maybe he's wanting to come on and talk with us about Legends or something.
That'd be cool.
He runs Gotham Undercover, so
yeah.
So maybe we'll talk to some of the other hosts and see if they would like to do that. Then the other idea is some of our listeners, if they would like to come on and have a crack at being part of the podcast with us, we could do that as well.
Yeah, that's always another option.
So these are things we will work on and figure out for next season. The next one on the list is news. which got a few votes actually. Yeah, news, that's just adding, any tidbits that we find out about upcoming episodes or things like that. So I want to tread lightly though, is we don't like to include spoilers on our podcast, so it'd have to be news that was relevant, but doesn't give away too much.
Yeah, we would have to be careful because neither one of us goes seeking out spoilers, so that also means we don't seek out news, and that is the reason why. So that one, it might be a beginning of season or end of season or like at special times where we'll bring in the news, but in order for us to kind of avoid spoilers, we may not be able to fully embrace that into our show.
And then the last one, episode details, and that was about, at the beginning when I say this is season 1, episode 16, titled Legendary, at that point we would include directed by and written by and da-da-da. I don't know about you, Harley. Me personally, we have never included it on our show, and I've just, without even telling you, I've just avoided it anyway, because I personally don't really care. All the other podcasts, I listen to Central City and they go into great detail about it, and so does Gotham. And me personally, I don't care. I don't care who directed it. I don't care who wrote it. I don't care who was in the whatever. It's just information that doesn't really matter to me. I don't know about you.
I don't really follow it too much myself either. Like, sometimes it's interesting to hear some of the writers, especially when they turn out to be like the bigger names. I mean, I could take that or leave that, honestly.
Yeah, I mean...
So we may not include, but...
It's nothing bad about the other podcasts for any of you guys that might be listening to us. No big deal. Like, you guys do it because you want to do it. I'm just not... It's just information that I'm not really concerned with, so I didn't want to include it on ours, because to me it's just... let's just get on with the other things we want to talk about.
Yeah.
But then we did have also a couple other, because I think part of the poll I added in, and if you have other ideas, then add in the comments. So what else did we have thrown in there? Because I think people came up with a couple other ideas.
Yeah, one of them was like to introduce the backstory from the comics on new characters, which I think we did a little bit of in the very beginning, like I think our first podcast that we did.
Yeah, we did. We explained our main...
And then... We'll actually do that a little bit in this podcast at the end. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's. I mean, if season 2 opens up with some new characters, then yeah, we could definitely include that in some history and backstory on the new people.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fun. I like to delve into the comics background, and I may do a little quote unquote research myself in the off season and dig into some of the comic arcs.
Right. And then the other thing they came up with was interviews with cast and writers. Now that, of course, I would love. That would be amazing to include. But it's also very difficult. And this
that's easier said than done.
Yeah, to get a hold of cast members, you have to go through their agents and whatever companies they're affiliated with, and you have to find... you have to be like a legit media representative to... be able to even get in that close to ask for time with them, and we are not that, so the only way that we would even get close is through the iTunes reviews. If we can get a lot of reviews and a lot of ratings on there, that boosts our podcast into the spotlight and becomes much more visible. And then when the showrunners and the agents and stuff start seeing that, if we were to approach them and they see, whoa, okay, there's a lot of people posting about this podcast, there's a lot of listeners, maybe that would be a little bit of publicity for us to allow you to speak with them for 10 minutes or whatever. So it's difficult. It's something we would love to do, of course. Yeah,
I mean, they're going to do their due diligence, and if they don't consider us to be what they're not just going to let anybody talk to their actors. I mean, let's be honest.
No.
Yeah, I mean,
we're not Entertainment Tonight.
Exactly. I mean, they obviously there are podcast networks out there that are able to gain access to get these interviews, but they've also been around for a lot longer, and they're a lot more established as a podcasting network than we are. For instance, Golden Spiral Media, they do a lot of interviews. They also have very experienced podcasters and a lot of clout within the industry.
Yeah, we have no clout.
So we are not there. We would love to do something like that, and it's something we'll try to pursue, but we can't really make any promises since we are on our own in our own little media world and just kind of brand new at this.
Exactly.
So.
But hey, if you guys want to help and promote us, do whatever you can. You share our links, talk about us.
iTunes reviews,
yeah. But like, talk about us, share us, post for us, all those different things. Any type of social media visibility will help. And who knows what happens if this show ends up going for a few seasons and, we're around with them that long, then, we might finally start standing out a little bit.
Yeah, that would be great.
Because I have seen, I think on iTunes, I think there is 2 other podcast shows about Legends of Tomorrow, and I haven't listened to any of them.
I haven't either, but they're out there.
Yeah, so we are there is competition, so we have to somehow stand apart from them, and that takes a lot of your guys' help in making that happen.
Yep.
Anyway, we just really wanted to discuss those ideas about our show, so we will discuss how we want to incorporate some of these new ideas, and because it's all about improving the show.
Yep.
And we'll try our very best. So our next poll question was, what format do you prefer to listen to the podcast in? There really was only 3 options. It was chronological order, which ends up kind of being a recap. And me personally, I don't like recaps. I don't like the podcasts I listen to that are a very dedicated recap, because it's like, I already watched the show. I don't need to listen to an hour-long recap.
Yeah.
I was hoping people weren't going to vote for that one. I kind of felt it was going to be the major story segments or a mix of both, which is what ended up getting most of the votes. And me and Harley were kind of feeling like that too. So if we cover major story points in the order that they play out, that's probably the best way to podcast about a TV show. So we're going to try to do that carrying forward, and we're going to start with tonight's episode.
Yep.
Yeah. What was next, Harley?
Well, now we kind of launch into some of our polls. And so the first one that you posted was, after 15 episodes, who has become your favorite character?
And there was one character that kind of ran away with this one, wasn't there?
By a landslide,
Yeah.
Mr. Leonard Snart, Captain Cold, is my favorite.
He's your favorite. He's Lisa's favorite. He's a lot of favorites. Mine is, I just add in, mine has become Rory Heatwave. Just something about him. We'll talk more about him through the discussion, but I just find he has had the greatest growth story arc this season. So
Yeah, I think he might have been number 2.
who actually was our number 2?
It really was it was 15 votes for Captain Cold, 3 votes for Sarah Lance, 1 vote for McRory.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That was my vote.
That was yours. 1 for Martin Stein and 1 for Ray Palmer.
That's funny. See, that's something, if we could get a hold of the actor who plays him and let him know, hey, look at how, look at what happened. This is how much of a favorite you are.
Oh, I know.
That
would be amazing. Could you imagine interviewing Wentworth Miller? How cool would that be?
How cool would that be?
You might have to conduct the interview.
You wouldn't be able to contain yourself.
I mean, I would have to, but I have to be extremely professional and put on my client voice.
Your client.
That I use at work. Yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you would just be vibrating on the inside, though.
Seriously. I love him.
And poll number 2 was, who would you like to see stay on for season 2? We figured for these next couple, we were going to give you the top 3 for second and third place, basically.
Yeah.
And actually, surprisingly, number 1 was not Captain Cole. Number 1 was Sarah Lance.
I was actually surprised by that.
Yeah, so she was the top favorite for staying on for season 2. Number 2 was actually Leonard Snart, and number 3 was McRory.
Yep.
So those are our top 3 who you want to see continue, and of course that we'll get to what actually happens at the end of this episode, because I was a little surprised with who stays and went. But we also wanted to add an honorable mention with absolutely no votes. Kendra, Carter, and Savage.
No surprise.
No surprise there. All right, what was our third poll?
Who do you want to see gone from the show?
It's almost an exact reverse.
We literally just announced this.
Yeah.
Number 1, Vandal Savage. Number 2, Carter Hall. And number 3, Kendra Saunders. And with 0 votes, we had Snart, Rory, Stein, Sarah, and Jax, who, minus Mr. Palmer and Rip, are coincidentally our team.
Yeah.
Sort of.
Sort of. What? So,
Snart's ambiguous. We'll talk later.
we'll talk later. But it was funny because Rip and Adam actually got a couple votes.
They did get a couple votes. There's at least a couple of people that want to see Rip gone. Or did pre-finale.
So there you go. There's some poll responses. And again, thanks everybody because that was kind of fun. I hoped it was fun. It was fun for us to...
Oh, it was fun.
See what you guys would respond to. And I mean, some of the stuff we kind of knew how you were going to vote, but... and some we weren't.
Yeah.
We were a little surprised, but it was kind of fun. Then the next thing I asked for predictions. Just what is going to happen on our finale? How will it end? Tell us your theories, and then we're gonna talk about your theories here, and then by the end of the episode, we will know who got it the most accurate.
That's true. Yeah, we had 3 people reply with theories to varying complexity.
All right, who was the first one?
The first one is from Doug, and he says, how will it end? Savage narrowly escapes after a harrowing battle. Booster shows up and says, hi, Dad, to Rip, and hi, Mom, to Sara.
Hi, Mom, to Sara.
I found that very amusing.
That's pretty funny. I did not see any love connection at all between Sara and Rip, so I don't know if that would ever have come to pass, but...
They had a little bit of a moment there for a minute.
Not
like a romantic moment, but just a moment.
That's true. All right, and then our second one was, I guess should we talk about if his prediction came through, or should we wait till the end?
Oh, no, we can talk about it now.
All right. Well, so Doug, can't really say you were correct on any of that. Savage did not narrowly escape, although I agreed with you. I kind of thought he was going to. We had no sign of Booster Gold, and therefore he was not able to say hi to Mom or Dad. Whether we agree with you or not as to who Mom would have been.
But I liked the theory. It was quite creative.
It was pretty creative. So our next theory was from Kelly, the master wordsmith, and she says, still going with Rip not coming back next season. Sara in charge of the Waverider. Snart survives because it's a time continuum. Not sure that's the right word. But Sara and Ray go back to Star City to help their season finale. Carter and Kendra end Savage and go home to their planet, stopping what was supposed to happen in the future. Did I mention everyone? Well, how did she do here? Rip not coming back next season?
Negative.
Wrong there. Sara in charge of the Waverider? She might end up being the pilot.
She could be, yeah. You never know. If they set foot back on it, we'll see.
Snart surviving because it's a time continuum. Well, we really have no answer to that yet.
Nope.
They played it out like he is gone, so we'll talk a little bit more of that in the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Sara and Ray going back to Star City to help with their season's finales. That would be awfully cool, and I suppose there's still a chance of that. I guess we'll find out next week on the Arrow finale, but I'm thinking a little unlikely because there was no chatter about any more crossovers, so who knows.
Yeah, they did try to... I felt like they did briefly address this in the episode when you have that ending scene with Sara and her father.
Yeah, that's true.
So my money's on no.
And Carter and Kendra end Savage and go home to their planet. Well, yes, they definitely were 1/3 of the ending Savage pie. Again, as for this home planet of Thanagar, yeah, they kind of washed over that. So there was a little bit of talk about it. That'll be part of our notes later on. All right. And our last and final prediction.
This one came in from Todd, and he says, I'm just glad we got a hint of the season 2 villain, the Thanagarians that I still think will be a thing, to understand their war with Earth and how Khufu and Shiara will either side with or fight them. That will still be a thing, I think. I'm wanting Savage to be done as a villain. I hope his arc gets resolved in season 1, but if he survives the finale, I actually think Savage would make a good ally against the Thanagarians. The team will have to negotiate with Savage to fight with him, the devil you know, realizing Savage's time travel power and alliances with the Time Masters might have disintegrated, could change Savage's character just enough to find redemption for what he's done.
Your guesses at the season 2 villain being the Thanagarians? Yeah, that's up in the air too.
Yeah, it's a possibility, but
it's a possibility.
I have no idea. Yeah.
I have a little bit I can share about that, but I'm going to save that for our season recap special podcast.
Okay.
Although I love the idea of Khufu and Shiara deciding whether they're going to align with them or fight them. That would be really cool. That would redeem part of this Hawk people story that everyone was so upset with, I believe. Mm-hmm. As for Savage joining them to help them fight, that's a good idea. I don't know if people would accept that. Because everybody's awfully tired of him, so I don't know if there's any salvage for Savage.
But he's dead.
If he didn't die is what I'm meaning.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, there you go, guys. I mean, that was fun. It was fun to hear a little bit of your predictions. I had actually meant to add in my own, but I forgot because I was busy doing all the other stuff. And, oh well. Nobody will know now, and we will know if I was right or wrong.
It's the way to do it. There you go.
Well, I believe, Harley, that's all our pre-show extra stuff. Let's get into this episode.
All right.
Legendary, because, man, it's our finale, and we have got some stuff to talk about.
Yeah, we do.
It's going to be legendary.
What is your overall feel of this episode? What's your rating?
My rating is 9 savage murders cubed. And I thought this was a very fast-paced episode, so we kind of hit the ground running, and to me that wasn't necessarily a bad thing. I felt like we've spent the whole season drawing all these things kind of out with Savage and Carter and Kendra, so it was nice to just kind of get a plan laid out and get something done, and just boom, 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 we kind of went with it, and so that was kind of nice. We finally succeeded. We killed Savage. Mm-hmm. And I really liked the ending of this episode. It brought a lot of closure to many on the team that actually needed it, and they still left us with questions to ponder until season 2.
Okay.
So, I liked it. It was fast paced. There was a lot going on, but I really enjoyed it.
Right.
What did you think?
Well, I really had, oh boy, I had a roller coaster of changes with how I felt about this episode. And I think, to explain myself properly, I think what happened is I had Patty Spivot with me, and we were here to watch the finale, and we were so excited about it, because the last 2 episodes were so well done, so dramatic, and just powerful in so many ways that I was really looking forward to this one, and we thought we'd save it for last. I had this inkling feeling in my mind, they're gonna resolve Sara knowing about her sister Laurel being killed. I felt like they were going to address that. Patty doesn't watch Arrow very much, so I thought, let's go back and watch that Arrow episode where we see Laurel die, so she can get caught up with the emotions and the feels from that. Mm-hmm. And it was pretty powerful. It shocked her, and she was pretty caught up in it. Then we watched this week's Flash episode, which was also over the top, dramatic, and powerful, and wow. What's that?
And I haven't seen it.
Yeah, but see, it is. It's shocking and just leaves you going, and so we're hung up on all of that emotion, and then we dive into Legends, and upon that first viewing, we actually, well, this is more me speaking, but I felt let down and I felt unsatisfied. I felt like the expectations of the last 2 episodes that it built up, it didn't live up to. So I talked to you on Facebook Messenger right after. I was like, I'm not happy with it, and you were kind of arguing with me about it.
I was just like, don't take me down from this. I like this episode.
So I gave it a couple days rest, because that was Thursday night, and I rewatched it today, which is Saturday, and now I'm watching it fresh, and I'm ready to go, and the emotion of the episode, everything hit me a lot harder, everything set in, and I felt a lot better about it. There's still some nitpicks about it, which is what really stood out for me. Like when I said I was feeling unsatisfied and feeling let down, it's because those nitpicks were really standing out. But on my second viewing, they weren't as overpowering, and I think I actually missed a lot of the dialogue that explained things.
There's a lot.
Yeah, and that's probably why I was feeling disconnected with this episode. So I picked it all up the second time around. I felt a lot better about what they did with the story. I was really surprised at the end of how much of the team stayed together after we've all read and heard about season 2 bringing in a whole new team. Mm-hmm. So we'll talk about that later too. So yeah, it was a roller coaster episode, and my feelings about it were a roller coaster. So in the end, I come down to like I would say my first viewing, I was really low. I was like a 6.5. 7
wow.
kind of closing. And then watching on my second viewing, I felt so much better, and I probably would give it a 9.5 to be up there with you, but just because of my initial feeling, I'm going to stick with an 8.
That's fair.
And it's an 8 tearful closures.
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh.
So I'm sorry that was a really long-winded explanation, but that's really how I felt. It was quite a jumble mix, and I think in a nutshell, I was just ultimately so excited for this finale because it's our first podcast. We covered a full season of it. The last 2 episodes were so good. I really wanted something strong, and it took a second viewing for me to get that feeling that it was that strong.
Oh, see, I mean, I rated it a half a point lower than last week's episode, so I guess by that standard, I would say that I didn't feel it was quite as strong as last week's episode, but for a finale, I liked it. We had our storyline wrapped up, we had closure for our characters, and we had an opening into season 2 that kind of leaves us wondering.
Yeah.
So it kind of hit on all the points for me.
Yeah, and I do agree with you now. Let's see as we get in this episode, let's see if you agree with my nitpicks that bothered me the first time through.
Yeah, yes, definitely.
All right, well, there you go. Let's dive into it. And like I said, we are going to try to cover major story and plot points as they happened.
Yep, so we start in 2016. Rip. I would say he brings our team back, but he really technically abandons them.
Yeah, pretty much.
And so
he did a little hologram trick on them there.
I know. That was just a really funny scene. It brings up some funny scenes with Rory, and he touches him and he's like, wait a minute. But, so they figure out that they've been dropped off not when they left, they're dropped off 5 months after they left. And there is a reason for that, which we continue to see throughout the rest of the episode. And then he has this throwaway line, which this satisfied me personally because it was an open end that I had been wondering about. And he said that he can now return their younger selves to the timeline, so it'll be as if they never left. So he's about to go off to the orphanage and do that for them. Yeah,
but is that really a throwaway line? It was a line, but it had a lot of significance to it.
Exactly, yeah. When I mean like a throwaway line, I mean like and this is in typical Rip fashion, the way that they've written his character, is he has the most important key pieces of information that if he left those out, we would have huge plot holes. But he says them so fast.
Yeah, he does.
He's like, oh, by the way, I'm going off to the time orphanage to return yourself, so it's as if you never left. Bye.
Yeah. Because to him it's so nonchalant, and yet to us as viewers and to the rest of the team, it's like, whoa, okay, that was heavy.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the whole thing kind of was, he drops them off and basically he says, there's no need for you to come with me. There's no Oculus. I have no way of tracking Savage. Even if we did, we can't kill him because we don't have Kendra and Carter. And so it was just...
I found it a real depressing way to start the episode off, with him apologizing for all he's caused them and that it came to nothing. To me, it was a downer, and that may have been what threw me off on the episode right off the beginning. I was just like, oh,
yeah,
bummer.
Yeah, it was it was a bummer in that respect, but at the same time, it was nice just to see Rip acknowledging everything that has happened and that, they basically accomplished nothing.
Yeah, I guess if you look at it that way, he's not really taking responsibility for it, but I guess he is.
In his way.
What else can you do? I think he's just like,
exactly.
Yeah, I screwed up, I screwed you guys up, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, pretty much. He's like, I'm sorry, I can't allow you to continue to throw your lives away.
Yeah, so whatever type of salvaging I can give you to your lives, here it is.
Yeah.
And then that jumps right into Sara
Oh my gosh.
Heading over to the Arrow Cave, which was kind of cool. I mean, we're seeing the Arrow sets on our Legends show, so that was kind of neat.
I know, but as soon as the door opens and I saw where she was, I was like, no, this is gonna happen.
Your heart just started weeping because you knew she's gonna run into her dad, Captain Lance.
Yeah, or someone. I mean, it could have been anyone. I mean, I'm glad that it was Captain Lance, that it was her father, but I mean, anyone that she ran into there was going to have to break the news.
Yeah, and okay, it was really upsetting to see that and to see her have to face that. And it was a great moment between the two of them. And it was really, I really liked that they brought this full circle for her and were allowing her to find closure there. And we'll talk more about that later. But when I was thinking about the timing of the episode, did you watch Arrow this week?
No, I'm behind. Like, I am
okay, well,
really
I won't,
behind.
without giving anything away, there's a scene in Arrow where the team all takes off to go deal with Dark, and Lance said, I'm gonna go with you, and basically Oliver's like, no, you stay behind, I don't want you to get in danger. Besides, we need someone here at the computer to watch over things and keep in touch with us. And he leaves,
Oh, okay.
so Captain Lance is in the Arrow Cave all by himself watching over the news feeds and stuff on the computers. I'm wondering if that is the moment that Sara comes in, because it looked like that moment.
Yeah, it must be, because I was sitting there and I was like, that's odd. Why would he be there by himself?
Yeah, so
But that makes perfect sense.
for me, it was actually really cool. I'm like, oh, that's bang on in the timeline of Arrow. That is so cool. Well done.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. I'll have to, yeah, I'm still one behind. The last episode I saw was Monument Point.
Okay, yeah, so it's this week's one you gotta watch still.
Yeah, I gotta watch this week, and I gotta watch this week's Flash and Arrow. I gotta watch, so I'm trying to catch up on them tomorrow.
We'll have to talk off microphone here. I'm curious what you think of both of those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, back to the podcast.
Back to Legends.
Did we want to say anything more about Sara? I mean, these scenes were just they were well done. I mean, and there's more to come on this storyline, but
Yeah.
it was just,
I think it's just at this point in time, it was heartbreaking to see.
it was. Oh, it really was. Well, on a,
All right. Well,
on a
next,
slightly lighter note.
slightly lighter note. Yeah, we go from that heavy moment to a very comical moment.
Exactly. So you see someone get blasted with a cold gun. And I was like,
what?
wait a minute. And then it's just like some random guy. I'm like, I don't know who this is. And so we find out that apparently Rory has tried to recruit a new partner.
What it looked like.
Yeah. And I think I must have completely missed this in the last episode. I didn't realize that he actually had picked up Snart's cold gun. I was like, where did the cold gun come from?
That confused you a little bit?
Yeah, I was a little confused. I hadn't realized that they had actually taken it. I thought it had it and it blew up, and I was like, wait, what?
Yeah. No, and just to clarify, in case you're not the only one, I mean, last week when Snart knocked Rory out to take over holding down that switch in the Oculus device, he threw his cold gun down at Rory's body, and you see it when Sara bends down to pick Rory up. You see the cold gun leaning against Mick. So you have to assume that Sara grabbed that as well, or Rip came and grabbed it. But it was right there with Mick. So
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
and you see it. You do see it clear as day. So yeah, you must have just missed that.
Yeah, I think I just missed that. There's a lot going on in those scenes, and I think I was focused on.
So there he is shooting the gun, and Mick, he's getting in a little bit of an argument with his new partner, and the getaway car pulls up, and who is it? None other than Ray.
That cracked me up. I was like, what are you doing?
He's just like, he's all same old Ray. He's all a happy little excited kid. Hey Mick, how you doing? He's all, just giddy and fun. And
we should talk.
We should talk. And Mick's like, what are you doing here? And I can't remember exactly what Ray says, but it made me crack up laughing because Mick tells him just drive, and
Yeah.
Ray has to pull his mask back down over his face to drive away. It's like he wants to fulfill the getaway driver role at, just like all his other fantasies he's gotten to fulfill on this trip.
I know. He cracks me up. He's just like a kid in a candy shop, it feels like.
Exactly. Just his boyish charm. I just found that funny.
Oh, I know. That was great.
But he was actually there for a serious reason.
Yeah, he was. So we get this next scene with them, and he came to apologize for letting Snart die in his place. He's like, I was the one that should have died. And Mick, he's just like, no, he did that. He always had a plan. And then Ray's like, oh, well, maybe he meant for us to be partners and he meant for us to watch out for each other and have each other's backs. And Rory's looking at him like, are you insane?
When Ray was saying that, he was kind of pointing back and forth between the two of them, and Mick's like, what are you doing with your hand?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. He had a lot of good, just like little like one-liners throughout this episode.
Yeah, it was pretty funny, but
he
couldn't. I mean, Ray was able to explain it to him off camera. We didn't get to see it, but you kind of knew that Ray was explaining, and Mick got it, why he was there, and the two of them went off together. It was just fun. It was a fun little scene that came right after the heavy scene, so.
Yeah, we needed something a little lighter after all of us, like, know exactly what Sarah's walking into. So.
Exactly.
So, this next part kind of made me laugh because all on their own, they all, well, sort of, I guess they kind of come in pairs and then Sarah shows up, but they all have their own reasons for wanting to signal the Waverider. Mm-hmm. And I love that both Dr. Stein and Ray Palmer both have different ways of doing it.
Their own little devices.
Yeah. And then of course you get Sarah that shows up and she's like, we need to get that ship back here now.
Well, it was kind of neat. Like, none of them were comfortable with leaving the mission unfinished.
Nope. You know? They all wanted to see it through.
Yeah. So that was kind of cool. That just really showed, I guess, kind of a heroic moment that they're not satisfied with letting the bad guy get away with it. No, they're not. They will have none of it. They have to finish. They've got to stop Savage.
Yeah, and I liked that. I thought that was a neat touch.
Mick basically highlighted that by saying, that ship's not taking off without us. Got it?
I love that he shoves him and he's like, just making sure you're real.
Yeah.
That was a nice touch.
Nice touch. Touch.
Yeah, see what they did there? There we go.
So we jump from there to 1944.
Yeah, so we jump into 1944, which is apparently where Savage has run off with Kendra and Carter. And we actually see just Kendra running, and she's like running across the battlefield and runs into a U.S. soldier. And so...
Okay, I'm going to inject something new here. I am now instating a nitpick alert.
Okay.
So I'm gonna come up with a little whoop whoop whoop.
Oh dear.
Nitpick alert. Why, oh why, is she running? Kendra, you have wings. If you manage to escape, why don't you just fly away? Ugh.
In case someone shoots her out of the sky? I don't know.
Oh yeah, there's no foreshadowing to that thought.
Not at all.
Oh, God.
That doesn't happen.
Anyway, so Savage shows up and throws his knife into the soldier, recapturing Kendra.
But not before she leaves a message in that helmet.
Now, you said here that it was a clever way to signal the team, and
I
totally agree with you. I love this idea of sending a message through time. It's such a cool story element to use as a way to send a message through time. It's so cool. But I thought this was such poor execution of that creatively. Just some random soldier. Why would Rip have a helmet from some random nobody that was in the war?
I don't know. I will admit that this kind of struck me as like a little odd, and it's kind of one of those things you kind of have to hand wave away, I guess.
Yeah, but it's a forced plot device, like really forced.
Yeah, I guess.
The idea is awesome. Sending a message through time is awesome. They could have come up with something a little bit better, something they could have spent a little bit more time on to really sink it in and make us go, wow, that was cool. Yeah,
I mean, she does recognize this helmet. She's like, I've seen that helmet before. So, and I don't know, and
they've never, I'm going to have to rewatch the entire season to see if that helmet even shows up anywhere.
It could. I mean, it's in the background the whole time, you would assume.
You assume.
Yeah, but so I don't know, I'd have to go back and look, but...
That's what I mean. Like, we have seen a lot of Rip's office on the Waverider. We've seen a lot of his artifacts. They could have picked an artifact that was far more recognizable and made us go, oh! And it would have given us that cool moment of realization. Instead, they give this random soldier, random helmet that I'm pretty sure none of us have seen, and it doesn't connect. We've lost the connection, therefore losing the wonderment of this part of the scene.
Yeah, I mean, it may not connect to the past, but it certainly connects into the future scenes that we see.
Which, well, I'll let you explain.
I liked
what
it.
happens after that.
Well, the helmet, I mean, it moves itself from one place to another. So they say that it's because the change is like reverberated throughout time, and so it can displace things. And so I thought that was cool. And he's like, Rip's like, did you put that here? What, did you just knock that over? Like, where did that come from? And so it had moved itself because she changed it.
Yeah.
And so I thought that was I thought it was a cool way to signal the team. So I just I was willing to hand wave away however, is that a common helmet? Is that not a common helmet? I don't know. I mean, she said she recognized it, so I was like, fine, we'll go with it.
But it would have been way cooler if it was something more, like something that Rip's always handling on his desk, or something that, he would immediately recognize that it's out of place. That's all I'm asking for. I'm totally on board. I totally agree with you how cool the idea is, but they should have gone in a different way with it as well. It just, the helmet leaves no emotional connection at all.
Yeah.
But anyway, we come to the very next point. Jax knocks it off the desk, and there's this whole, did you move that? Did I move that? Nope. And we have this awesome reaction from Dr. Stein.
Yeah.
Because Jax is like, go ahead, say it. And just the look on Stein's face, the look of a young boy seeing the circus for the first time or something. Astonishing.
I know. That was
it
great.
Was priceless. I mean, that was the best time he has said that line over the whole season. That was the best use of that line. Mm-hmm. He looked and this is exactly what I'm getting at. That emotion, that excitement and wonderment that he expressed in that little half a second is what I wanted to feel when we saw the helmet and the connection. That's what I was looking for. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm.
It makes sense.
Okay.
I'm not in the same boat as you, but I hear what you're saying.
Well, your boat is sinking, so there.
Yeah, well, your boat might be sinking pretty soon.
All right, so after that, we're on the Waverider still. Mm-hmm. And Sara takes a shot at Rip and then slams him up against the wall and holds a knife to his throat.
Ooh, yeah. She's not very happy. She's, her assassin instincts, killer instincts are kind of coming out a little bit. Mm. And so she wants him to help her save her sister.
And she comes up with a strong argument that I totally agree with. Yeah. They have been trying for the entire season. They've been trying over and over and over to save Rip's family by stopping Savage any way they can. That's been the point of this whole mission. So why can't she try to save her family? Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's not fair. And he just basically says no to her.
Yeah, but, I mean, he does kind of have a little bit of a good reason. He said, I mean, basically that once she calms down and they end up talking, he says that if she tries to go back and save Laurel, like if she goes back in time, then all three of them are going to get killed, Sara, Laurel, and her father. And so basically they altered that when he took Sara with them, they've altered the timeline and the outcome. So now only Laurel dies because Sarah's not there. And so presumably that also somehow saves Captain Lance. And he's saying, even if they go back, with the whole team, that outcome's still going to be the same. Laurel's still going to die.
Yeah, and that's the only bit that saves Rip's defense, I guess. That
is his defense, and that's the only thing he's got.
Yeah, and it makes you pause and think that, okay, do we kill just Laurel or do we kill all three of them? What's the better outcome?
Yeah, and that's the decision she has to make too.
Yeah, and I still can't disagree with her. I mean, let her try, let her go back. Mm-hmm. And give it a try. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was heartbreaking all over again.
It was. Yeah. It's the pulling on the heartstrings again, and they keep coming back to it and showing us that Sara has definitely fully come back from her resurrection, and she wants nothing more than to save her family from all of this. That's why she went on the mission to begin with. Mm-hmm. So then we go from that to Carter and Kendra on the little time ship that Savage has. We find out some information, but what kind of bugged me here again? Nitpick alert. Mm-hmm. Carter kind of wakes up and he's all confused and doesn't seem to know what's going on and is forgetting everything. And I'm thinking, wait a second, did he not just emerge last episode in that, like he emerged very quickly, remembered everything just in time to save Kendra? So why is he suddenly now forgetting everything and doesn't seem to know who he is or who Kendra is or what's going on? Like he's all dopey and being,
Well, Savage he gave us a reason for that though. He said it was because he had him in stasis. He said it was the way that he took him out. I guess he didn't do it in a great way.
Did he say? I missed that.
Did.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does Savage say, or when does he say that?
He says that when he's kind of like launching into the conversation. Oh, I brought you a friend, and he's like, I know you, and he's like, yeah, but he might be a little confused because of the way, like, I brought him out of stasis or whatever, and then.
Oh, jeez, that totally went over me. Okay.
Yeah, no, he did address that. It was done quickly, but he did address it.
Okay. Well, what do we find out?
Well, we actually learn why Kendra and Carter have been kept alive. I've been saying this the whole time. I'm like, why doesn't he just kill them?
Yes.
Because we know that's what he always does. He kills them so that he can remain immortal. But he needs them alive because he needs their blood. And so what their blood is supposed to do is activate these meteorites from Thanagar, I guess. They've got this technology inside of them, and once he activates the meteors, it'll erase time itself and kind of plunge the Earth back to 1700 BC, which is the original time period the three of them came from.
Okay, hold on here, because what are they confirming right now? At this point I was going, whoa, Thanagar did send those meteors to Earth? That's crazy, because that means Thanagar knew about Earth way back when in 1700 BC. Mm-hmm. And they're sending these meteors as an attack or as some type of surveillance? What's going on? It's just blowing my mind if they're incorporating Thanagar. Are Kendra and Carter connected to that somehow? What's going on? Like, cause Savage said, he did say there's tech in the meteorites. I'm like, tech? What do you mean? What do you mean there's tech? Like explosive material, or is there some type of technology within the meteor? He didn't really say. So what's the connection then to Carter and Kendra and Thanagar? That they kind of left that a little bit unexplained.
Yeah, they did. It was kind of vague. They didn't get a whole lot of explanation in there. I mean, what I took from it was that was kind of their way of injecting like the origins of the comic book with the origins they've established on the show. And so you get that. It was not clear if the Thanagarians, if they sent the meteors to Earth. I mean, Savage does imply that there's some sort of like technology in them that he needs their blood for. But I didn't get the impression that they were from that planet. It was just how they were affected differently by the meteorites when they crashed the first time in Egypt.
Yeah, see, and that's what I'm wondering. It's just about the connection. Where is it? Because we know there's two different versions of Hawkman and Hawkgirl in their storyline, and it wasn't explained which way they're going with it at this point. So that's all. Yeah. It's just a little confusing. But it still excited me because I was like, whoa, are they going to go there? What are they going to do?
Yeah.
But what we end up finding out, though, is that Savage has a new plan. He wants to change history where he basically wants to rule the world from the very beginning instead of a slow, long con where he ends up ruling it in the far future. He wants to just rule the whole damn thing right from the start.
Yeah.
That's his new plan.
That's his new plan.
Which answered our question. We were wondering, what's his end game?
Yep. He wants to take over the world. So that's his way of doing it.
So now they're on the road. It kind of flashed back and forth a little bit, but now they're back on the road where Savage is facing down the Nazis who are transporting the meteor. And I'm thinking, okay, what's he going to do? He's standing on the road and the Nazis they're like, move or we'll shoot you. And he just laughs at them. And they end up shooting at him and he dodged all the bullets.
Yeah.
And then he throws his knives, and wow, okay, that was cool. There's Savage that kind of tied Savage all the way back to when we first saw him on Arrow and Flash crossover, when we first realized how much of a badass villain he's going to be. That kind of brought it back to me, the way he dodged the bullets and tossed his knives all in one move. That was wicked.
Yeah, no, that was pretty cool. So he gets the meteorite, and then as our team is kind of like swooping in. They're trying to stop Savage and save Carter and save Kendra and they end up rescuing Carter, but Savage ends up with the meteorite and Kendra at the end of the day. This is where she gets shot out of the sky.
Yeah.
But Firestorm learns a new trick, which is awesome.
Transmuting.
Yeah.
Which is, how do you explain transmuting? Or should we wait until Stein explains it later?
I mean, it doesn't matter. It's basically just changing the properties of a material.
To be something else, yeah.
Yeah. So the rifle turns to
dust.
Dust, yeah. So that was pretty cool.
What I found cool about this scene is what they did with Adam. Because you see him fly up into the sky amongst the trees and then start blasting away with his arm blasters there. It looked super realistic in that entire scene. When he flies into the trees, when he shoots at the Nazis, when he lands. None of that was CGI, so I'm thinking they were using wires and cranes and cables or something and actually had him up there. Because I looked at that scene over and over and over and I was like, holy crap, he actually was up there in the sky, in the trees. That looked really fantastic.
That's cool. I mean, I like the effects in general. I thought they were pretty good this episode. I didn't look close enough to see if it was CGI or not. But
I love things like that. But I mean, it was just it was getting me excited because not only that, but also their use of Firestorm. He was in this episode a lot, so it just seems like there was no budget restrictions for the finale, which I thought was really nice. It was a really nice added element that they were going to go all out with the effects and make it look really good for us. Because Firestorm even looked fantastic throughout the entire episode too. Every time they used him. Yeah,
no, he did, and it was nice to see Firestorm back after quite a few episodes where we haven't really seen him. So
yeah, it's like they were making up for it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, shall we jump into this next kind of section of storylines?
Yep.
So the next portion I've entitled "Taking Down Savage."
Right.
So this is kind of where we launch into our plan and ramp up and finally finish him off, which is exciting.
This is quite an exciting. The pace was furious and
it was
a lot going on because we're jumping between 3 timelines and it was a lot to take in. It was like a movie quality event actually.
Absolutely, yeah. So this one gets a little hard, so we're definitely picking out key points here for sure. Yeah. But the first thing that happens is Stein figures out that Savage has to detonate these meteors in 3 different time periods. Right. And the reason for that is it's going to create a time paradox, which will then create a time quake, which will kind of reverberate and revert the Earth back to ancient Egypt. Some sort of...
to its chronothermic reaction point.
There we go.
Okay, Professor Harley. Real science or made-up science, we have temporal paradoxes, time quakes, and chronothermic reactions. Do tell us about those, Professor Harley.
Okay, well, this might be a slightly disappointing section, but I mean, a temporal paradox. I mean, that's basically just anything that it's a. I don't know. I mean, a paradox is a paradox. It's hard to explain that, but
what is a paradox?
I don't know the definition of a paradox. I just know what it is.
Okay, well, tell us your definition, or what you know it. What do you know it in your head to be?
Something that it's like an anomaly, like something that conflicts with something. It can't happen. Otherwise, things explode or implode or don't exist or whatever.
Right. And we've seen so many different variations on what a paradox can do. It's when there's different examples, like 2 people can't be in the same place at the same time, or 2 versions of themselves, or 2 events can't happen at the same time, or I mean, there's so many different variations on it over the history of TV and movies. So
exactly, yeah, and it's of course not real because time travel is not real,
right?
But yeah, a time quake is completely made up. That just sounded fancy and sounded like it would achieve what they needed it to achieve.
It sounds like when they create an event to happen, it basically shakes, or as you said, reverberates through time along the timeline, creating waves where every point in time, whether it's in the past or in the future, will feel it.
Yep, that sounds good. That sounds great.
Wait a second, how come I'm sounding like the professor tonight?
Because it's not real science? I don't know. It's comic book science. Well, pretty much any definition we can set to it
But I want to try to explain it to the listeners because they've come up.
I mean, that sounded like a good definition to me.
Okay.
I mean, they themselves don't really explain it, so it's whatever we kind of take away from it, right?
That's our job, is to pick it apart and just explain it, though.
I can't explain something that doesn't exist.
Well, it's usually
but
creativity.
I like your definition. But...
All right, so then we have chronothermic reaction.
Yeah, that's also not a thing.
Well, chrono has to do with time.
Yeah, and
thermic is like temperature.
Yeah.
So time, temperature. So if there's going to be an explosion at 3 different points in time from the meteors, and explosions are big enough, apparently if those meteors blow up, they're going to blow up the world. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe not the world, but kill everything on the world. Mm-hmm. So you have it happening 3 times at 3 different times in the timeline. That creates a chronothermic reaction because you have such a massive explosion along the timeline at 3 different times. That's basically, I think, what they're trying to say. Yep,
I think so. I don't know. I mean, it has something to do with time and something to do with temperature. It's not. I mean, it's barely a word.
Well, it has to be large. I mean, 3 explosions big enough to devastate the planet at 3 different points in the timeline is what it'll take to reset the Earth and erase time back to the point of first origin, which was ancient Egypt.
Yep.
So we just came full circle with all of that.
Yep. That's the plan.
That's the plan. And the reason that he figured all of that out is because somewhere out of nowhere, nitpick alert, Stein somehow knows that the Earth is going to be in sync with Thanagar at 3 different time periods, 1958, 1975, and 2021. So tell me, just how does Stein even know anything about Thanagar, let alone that it's going to be in sync with Earth?
Did he say that, or did Gideon say that?
I thought Stein said it.
He said it? Yeah. I mean, we know from the math that he knows the years. I'm assuming he...
But they just found out about Thanagar. They were in the far future vanishing point when they found out about Thanagar.
Only Rip found out about Thanagar in the future vanishing point.
How would Stein know where the planet is, let alone line it up in the timeline as to when Earth's going to be in alignment with it?
I mean, he's a nuclear physicist, so you assume if it's supposed to be a real planet in his universe, he would know about it, is what I came up with.
Not satisfying me on that one.
It's okay. I'm not satisfied on the made-up science, so we should probably move on.
All right. Well, that's what he figures out, though.
Yeah.
That the Earth will be in sync at those 3 time periods with the planet, and that's where the meteors came from, so when they blow up the meteors at those 3 points in time, that's what's going to reset the timeline. That's the whole idea. So they now figured out the 3 points in time that they have to go to stop Savage.
Yep. So that is the goal. And,
Okay.
and they also figure out the kicker is that the only reason that this works is because Savage can literally be in all 3 of these places at once because time travel. Mm-hmm. Which is fascinating. And
which...
creates a paradox in and of itself. But
yeah, so they're really, holy, this is where you have to just watch the episode and enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole point is to create a time paradox, which they've effectively done. Savage has met himself in 2 different time periods. So that is that.
Does that not argue with any of our previous theories about being in the same place as yourself and actually trying to help yourself?
Yeah. Probably. I mean, I always thought you weren't supposed to be in the same place as yourself, but if the point of what he's doing is to create a time paradox, by being in the same place as himself, he's already created a time, he's adding to the time paradox or creating the time paradox. So, I don't know. I don't know if it's plot hole, I don't know if it's point writing, or I don't know, it's just one of those hand wavy, this is what we're doing because it works time travel things, so move on.
I mean, as a whole, we're just really picking apart. I mean, as a whole, it's fast, it's furious, it's exciting. They figured it all out, and I think this was what the problem was. Is the first time I watched it through, I was feeling that this is way too fast and easy. We've had a whole season of them struggling to find Savage, catch him, and stop him, and in a matter of moments, they figure it all out and go and do it. And I just thought, wait a second, that was too fast, too easy. Come on, but. On the second watching it, when you're paying attention to what they're saying, yeah, it might be made up science, but in made up terms, it makes sense and is kind of cool. And it's kind of fun, and it was really neat to see play out.
Yeah, exactly. Which is kind of the stance that I was taking. I'm just watching it, I'm just letting it play out, because none of this stuff makes sense.
See, and here I thought you were going to be the one that was really going to struggle with all this time travel scientific stuff, because you love to nitpick that stuff apart, and I really...
If they had drawn it out, I would have. If this had happened over the course of the last 4 episodes, it would have made me angry, but it happened so fast that it was fun and exciting. But if they had drawn it out like you suggest that they should, it would have pissed me off.
So that's how they're going to sneak things under Harley's radar.
Mm-hmm.
Throw it at her fast and furious, she doesn't have time to think about it.
Exactly. That's what you gotta do, keep me distracted.
Alright, so, unfortunately, there's something to Savage's plan that I don't think he quite realized. It seemed to me, the way they showed it, that he didn't know there's a weakness.
Yeah, no, I got that same feeling too. Like, he did not realize. So, I mean, what our team figures out basically is that the radiation from the meteors, because he's going to be exposed to it in 3 different time periods, that it'll make him mortal because of the amount of radiation that he's being exposed to. And so it's the same principle that allow Kendra and Carter to be able to kill him with weapons that they've had in their first life, or items that they've had in their first life. They were all exposed to the same type of radiation. And so he didn't really think about the fact that when he activates these meteors, they're going to irradiate the area around them. And by doing that, he has basically given up his immortality.
Yeah, and I thought this was a great way to write in...
I thought so too.
A way to beat him, a way to defeat him, because he gets weakened by the radiation, and at 3 different time periods, he's with the meteors, so that's like a triple whammy.
Mm-hmm.
It was just, see, and this is what I mean, like, they have, why I say the roller coaster effect of this episode, because they wrote things in that I was going, what? How do you explain that? And then right after that, they write in something that I was like, whoa, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
So I had a hard time the first time watching through. So yeah, this was one of those points I thought, what a cool, clever way. After a season of chasing him down, and all of us were so frustrated, oh my god, just kill this guy, or why can't you kill him, or why, it comes down to this. Now this was a cool way to solve that. I was quite happy with the creative writing here.
Yeah, I was too. Like, it was fun. The next, whole set of scenes, it's too much to go through, literally, one by one, but I mean, basically it's this huge big montage of all of these fight scenes / murder scenes.
Murder, yeah.
I'm calling them murder scenes, and I was very, very excited. I have never been so happy to see an end to someone before.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, these scenes were fantastic, because the whole team is getting to take out their frustration on Savage, and they don't have to hold back anymore either. I mean, these were brutal Mortal Kombat style finishes.
Finish him!
Yeah.
Because
they were bad.
Oh, they were. So in one scene, you got Sara, one-on-one, taking on Savage, right out in the wide open on the docks of some harbor.
Oh, yeah.
And it was awesome, because she comes in there and Savage starts throwing his knives at her, and she's deflecting him with her staff. That was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Then she beats him down a little bit, gets behind him, gets the staff around his throat, and...
Yeah.
It was a brutal neck break.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely. It was great.
And then you jump to, like you said, you're jumping back and forth, but I'm just going to go through them one at a time. Then we have Rory, who's in just a plain old-fashioned beatdown, and it's just basically fisticuffs. Who can land in the better, stronger, harder punches? And he eventually punches Savage down, and then he pulls out his gun, and he just burns him to a crisp. Just melts him, and it's like, revenge is sweet at these moments.
That was I think that one was one of the worst.
Yeah, it also felt the greatest too, I think.
It did,
us,
yeah.
Because we got to see Mick do what he's been wanting to do, and get revenge for Snart.
Exactly.
And then we also see Carter and Kendra, and Carter finally is able to stand toe-to-toe with Savage. He's fighting well enough that it allows Kendra to get in there for the killing blow. Did you notice the knife glow red right before she plunges it into his chest?
Oh, no, I must have missed that effect.
Yeah, when she swings it up over her head, it just has this immediate glow of red. It's like the knife knew what it was about to do. Yeah, so you have to rewatch that.
Yeah, that's cool.
It glows red, and she plunges it in his chest, and they both get to have their little final words, whatever it was she said to him.
Oh, yeah.
She said something about my love.
Yes, she did.
And then right after that, you see Rip. He gets to exact his revenge because he grabs the knife and he kind of twists it and moves it around a little bit. And he's like, oh, you can feel that?
Yeah, things are different this time.
Things are different this time. And then he just shoves him into that electrical generator thing, whatever that was.
Mm-hmm.
And he basically kind of explodes. But
kind of, yeah.
What was that blue energy wave? Because as soon as I saw that and they showed a pull-away shot of it ripping through the entire city, it immediately made me think of the particle accelerator explosion on Flash.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it did make me think a little bit about that too, but I think it was just supposed to represent, like, his amassed, like, life force over the years. Because he finally died. And so then when he explodes, I mean, he's been alive for 4,000 years. Mm-hmm. So you have all of that, like, energy that has to go somewhere. Because I think when he, and this was early on in season 1.
We're still in season 1.
Well, I know, but, technically it's over, but okay. Yeah, like, at the very beginning, when he kills Carter, I think, like, there's, like, a blue something that kind of, like, goes into him. And so I think that's kind of where I made that connection from.
Oh, okay. So you think that was just all the energy being released that he's collected over the years?
Yeah, because it couldn't have been the radiation from the meteor, because otherwise that would have, like, ended the world. Mm-hmm. So I think it had to be, I think it was his life force.
Cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It was a cool effect. I thought it was neat. I liked that.
So you don't think that there's any type of residual effect from that since it went through the city and went through everybody? You don't think there'll be any type of residual effect like the particle acceleration explosion?
I don't think so, but if it's something other than what I think it is, there could be.
Okay.
Which could, make for something interesting that could happen in season 2.
All right, well, so I went through it with my Mortal Kombat finisher. I mean, what did you feel about all 3 ways they took him down?
That it was awesome, and I was just really excited that they were finally killing him off. I was like, yes! We're gonna kill Savage, finally, it's been a whole season. Oh, that made me happy.
I think the only bit, like, on my first time watching it, when I wasn't as excited about this episode, I think what was bugging me was that all season long, he has been able to stand toe-to-toe with them, one against the entire team, and take them on. And now, all of a sudden, one-on-one, he can't even hold his own against them. I thought, wait a sec, what happened? Where's all your fighting experience gone? Why aren't you able to stand in there with these guys? And it kind of bothered me because I'm thinking, really, you becoming mortal really weakened you that much? I guess.
Maybe, I mean, it's possible that maybe the radiation affected him in a couple different ways and he didn't really realize it. I don't know why that would diminish his fighting ability, but... But
do you get what I'm saying? Because how many times over the season have we said, oh, Savage he's a pretty wicked villain because he can stand in a narrow hallway and fight them all at once and end up beating them. Now he can't even take them on one at a time. Like, to me, it was a huge change in his ability, and I was like, I don't know. But the second time through it, I didn't care. It was just awesome because I was more feeling the emotion of everybody getting their chance to take their frustration out on him.
Yeah, and I think maybe that's why it didn't bother me, because they were killing him.
Yeah.
And I was just like, finally. But yeah, that is kind of true. I don't really know why, like, his fighting ability all of a sudden just, like, went out the window, but I don't know, convenience.
I felt bad. It was cool to see everyone, but we missed Jackson, Stein, and Ray didn't really get their punches in. So I felt like, oh, those poor guys, like, they're just as frustrated. They didn't get a chance to get in there and duke it out a little bit.
Yeah, but they had their moments, so, and I felt like they weren't as equipped to kill someone as the other characters that actually got to kill Savage were, and then they were the ones that took care of, well, at least 2 of the 3 meteors. So.
Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, yeah, Jax or Firestorm and Adam got to deal with the meteors. I just thought it would have been nice to allow them to get a few shots in too, just because, since Savage is weakened, they could get in there. I mean, it would have been great to see Ray get in there and throw down with him, like, because he got beat down by Savage,
Yeah.
So it would have been neat for Ray to get in there and flip, turn the tail on him kind of thing.
Yeah.
So this is the point we're at now. They dealt with Savage, and there's still some of his guys running around. There's a point in the fight where we saw Rip take a shot, and somebody shoots him, and he goes flying over the railing up off the roof of a building. And holy crap, right at the moment, I was like, what? That's where Rip's demise is going to be. I didn't know. I was worried for a second there that's all it was going to be.
I know. I really thought he fell off the building and that was going to be it. I was like, well, that was satisfying. Yeah. No, I totally thought he was dead. And then he kind of comes back up.
He comes up in his little heroic moment, standing on the Waverider.
Yeah. Which was cool.
That was kind of funny. So we've got them dealing with the meteors, and they're about to blow because we finished off Savage. Now we got 2 meteors, and the first one was kind of funny because you see it's Rory and Ray, and I think Rory says something about, all right, what did he say? All right, haircut, it's your turn, or something like that.
He calls him RoboCop.
RoboCop, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Rory's like, all right, RoboCop, your turn. That was pretty funny. Rory's become one of some pretty funny nicknames.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
But then it was great because Ray just I've been working on something, and he has this shrinking beam, and he points it at the meteor, and he shrinks it down to something so small, and then when it explodes, it's just a tiny little poof.
Yeah, I found that very amusing.
It totally amused me. That was hilarious.
Yeah, there's a lot of funny little kind of scenes in here, which was nice to kind of break up the seriousness and heaviness of a lot of the episode.
Yeah, well, because the next one, Firestorm puts his hands on it, and they're able to transmute it into water.
Yeah, which was awesome.
Yeah, that was kind of neat. That's an ability I kind of hope they don't go to it too much, because that's kind of an ability that you could just... Any situation you're stuck in, you could use that ability and get yourself out of it. So I hope they don't use it too much, because it could get really cheesy fast, I think.
Yeah, and it's kind of it's one of those domineering kind of things.
Yeah. So they get rid of 2 meteors, and turns out the third one they can't for some reason. It's gotten past the point of it's giving off too much radiation, and it's about to explode, and they're not able to control it and contain it.
Yeah.
So it's what are we going to do? And Jax offers to fly it away, but they can't fly it that far fast enough. So Rip decides he's going to throw it on the Waverider and fly it into the sun. It's a good idea. Sure, great idea. They're sitting there arguing that there's not enough time to fly it away, but Rip can fly it all the way to the sun. Boy, that Waverider's a fast ship.
Yeah. It is.
Because the sun's billions of miles away. It takes 8 minutes for light to travel from the sun to the Earth.
I don't think it's billions. I think it is actually millions of miles, though.
It takes 8 minutes for light to travel to the Earth from the sun.
I know.
The Waverider doesn't fly at the speed of light, and he can't time jump to the sun. So I was just okay, fine. Whatever, it's a cool scene. He's flying into the sun. Let's go with it. Because that was awesome. And again, we come to this point where it looks like Rip is now going to sacrifice himself.
Yep. I thought he was actually really going to die, because they all kind of say their goodbyes to him. Yeah. And then Rory's I don't want to lose another friend. And I was oh my God, that's so sad. And
it was surprising too, because I didn't expect that from Rory to say that. Not to Rip, anyway.
I know, I didn't either.
And it was surprisingly touching, just oh my God. And then there he is, he's flying into the sun, and the ship's falling apart, and it's getting hot, and he's in the captain's chair, and he's just closing his eyes. This is it. I'm done. I can't save my family. We stopped Savage. I have nothing left to live for. And he closes his eyes, and all of a sudden his family appears.
Yeah, and so that was kind of cool that he was actually momentarily reunited with his family in a way,
Well, the way I took it as that this is your life flashes before your eyes and your final moments and your
exactly. Yeah.
Whatever you believe in, whether it's any religion or faith or whatever, every scientific theory, it doesn't matter. There's a moment right before your death that I believe that whatever you care most about or feel most about is what's going to be on your mind at your point of death. And that's for Rip, that's what it was, and it allowed him to have that last connection with his family. And I'm telling you, oh my God, the feels. I thought this was Rip's end, and if it was,
I did too.
If this was where they were going to end his story, what a fitting and emotional end for this character. I would have been okay with it at that point, because he got reunited with his family in his dying moments. It was a powerful moment. That's the most I have ever felt for Rip. It connected me to him. After an entire season, I finally felt something for him, and I really liked it.
Yep. No, I agree. I thought it was a great scene.
And then right after that, probably one of my most favorite moments in the episode is Gideon kind of waking up and waking Rip up, and she says, Captain, I'm not ready to die.
I know. I thought that was very interesting.
And it shocked me. It was a realization type of moment. Is she sentient? And at the same time, it was touching, and it actually kind of brought a tear to my eye just listening to her voice, because she sounded so alive, so real, so much emotion in her voice. I'm not ready to die. Wow. It really showed the strong connection between her and her captain, and I loved it. And it made me think of, I don't know if you ever watched the TV show Andromeda.
I have not, no.
Because Andromeda was a live, breathing, sentient type of ship, and Kevin Sorbo, the captain, had a very strong connection to her as well. And I have been thinking, this is something I was thinking about for next season. I would love to see them do what Andromeda did and have Gideon create a hologram image of herself that could wander around the ship, or create an android body that she can download herself into. And either way, it gives her a physical form that the crew can interact with. And she can then be a more part of the team. Like, she could be a much stronger character, part of this team. And then it would allow the voice actress who plays her could actually be on the show and play her part.
That'd be interesting.
Because that's what Andromeda did. Andromeda had, she had an android body built for herself, and she was able to download her entire operating system, I guess, into the android, and she wandered around. So when they had missions on a planet or whatever, she could actually join them. It was cool. It was really
That is cool.
So anyway, back to the moment. It was a great moment. It just made me love Gideon even more.
Yeah. I mean, it opens up some interesting, possibilities for her. Just, the fact that she, consider this as her death, and understands what that means, and is I'm not ready. I'm not ready for that.
Yeah, because for a ship's computer to say, I am not ready, that has so much potential to what that could mean for a computer. If you think of all other versions of TV or movie that we've seen, when a computer or robot comes to life and acknowledges that it's a living being. You think of Data from Star Trek, and you think of HAL from 2001. I mean,
There's a lot. Yeah.
Love that moment.
Very cool.
So, you see, apparently Rip launches the meteor into the sun and time jumps away from it. I just have to throw in a very little nitpick alert here. Wasn't the ship pretty much falling apart? It was like almost in the sun. There was a pull-away shot they had where the ship was just falling apart and melting and everything. It looked like it was being torn apart at one point.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that it's a little, worse for wear when you see it again, see the inside of it, but...
Yeah, but the outside looked fine, and that's what I mean. You saw it falling apart.
Yeah, so, I know.
But anyway.
They just didn't stick with that, but continuity error, I guess.
Cool. So what happens? He lands back in where does he land back in?
He's back in 2021, so basically it's this whole thing happens, and he disappears, and then he comes back almost as if he never left. Basically, the Waverider went from disappearing on one side of the building to appearing on the other side of the building. Well,
yeah, because wasn't there a moment where they're like, "How are we going to stop the meteor?" and then it just disappeared. And they're like, "Where is it? Where's Rip?"
Yeah. Where did he go? And then all of a sudden, it's like he disappears in one spot and then comes back right in another spot, and it's like, what just happened? And so that was kind of funny, but it was, it was nice to see him back. I was like, okay, I'm I'm glad. I mean, he got a little bit of closure, but I'm glad he didn't die in the end. So.
Right.
So he picks everybody back up, and this is where he gives himself a new mission.
Yeah, someone is responsible for the timeline.
Yep.
I loved that idea. What a cool way to continue the story and to keep Rip around. I don't mind that at all. Even after a lot of people complaining about Rip, and even myself saying, I'm kind of done with him. This was a very cool way that they could have written a story to continue it, because we were all wondering, what are they going to do? How are they going to continue this team and this time traveling idea?
Exactly.
We need someone to protect the timeline, because the Time Masters are gone. The Oculus is gone. That's awesome. You need, it's essentially they're going to become time police.
Yeah. That's kind of what it felt like. But
So,
I thought that was cool.
Yeah, you like that too?
Yeah, I liked it. I liked the explanation. It worked for me. I was more done with the Hawk people and Vandal Savage and that whole storyline than I ever was with Rip at any point. So
Right.
I was glad to see him still around.
Well, we go from that, and now because he basically asks them, who wants to join me? And so all the characters basically disperse as they go to try to figure out what they want to do. Mm-hmm. And we get a few nice ending scenes here. So the first one we get is back to 2016. Mm-hmm. We see Sara going back to talk to her dad again.
Yes. I get another grave scene this season. Oh, it is.
Is it ripping your heart out?
Yeah, it was really sad. I mean, they had some good explanation, and this is basically where, I mean, Sara wants to stay and help with Damien Dark, and then Captain Lance was like, no, you need to leave. He's like, this time travel stuff seems pretty important. I think you should go and do that. Mm-hmm. We've got Dark covered. We'll be able to handle him.
It was nice. It was just nice to get to see Sara find some closure. Mm-hmm. I mean, really, it all happened this episode, finding out about her sister and stuff, but it was just nice to see her be able to find a bit of closure at the end of it, and find a reason to continue fighting on, and because she decided she's going to do this for Laurel.
Right. Yeah. She found her motivation.
Yeah, which is great, and I think it really brought Sarah's character arc around fully, and now we get to see a new chapter and see what she's going to do. It was really cool.
Yeah.
And then the next scene is Clarissa and Martin Stein.
I love that her and Jax have conspired to get Stein to go with that. that made me laugh.
Well, it's kind of funny, but she is so supportive of Stein, and she knows that if he doesn't get to experiment and be part of science and learning new things and experiencing scientific discoveries and all that, if he doesn't get to experience all that, he will not be a happy person. It'll ruin him. That's his life. That's his dream. That's his everything about him is learning new science.
Yeah.
And she knows that, so she does not want to hold him back. She realizes it's time travel. She's accepted that he can disappear for months at a time and come right back to this point of time, and it's okay, because she says, I'll be right here when you get back.
Yeah, exactly. So I thought that was cool. Yeah. That she was so supportive, and she basically was like, no, you're doing this.
Yeah, so. Exactly. And Jax is just sitting there smiling. You can see.
Yeah, he's made up his mind.
Yeah. Now, oh my god, I think this next scene was probably tugged all of our heartstrings.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if anyone could not get at least a bit of a watery eye for this moment.
I know I did.
Finally.
I know, right?
Because here we are in some type of nightclub, and it's 2013. Rory called Snart to meet him there so he could say his goodbye in his own way.
I know. It was so sad.
Oh my god. And it was sad, but it was funny because Snart's just
it's great.
Being Snart at this point in time. He hasn't really opened up and become part of the team and become that hero we knew him to turn into yet. This is old Snart. So He's just like, Mick, I'm not good with touchy-feely, just say it. Whatever it is. Yeah, it was just packed with hidden emotion. You could see it in their faces. Even though neither of them like to show any of their emotion, you could see it. You could see that Mick really wanted to tell him something meaningful to let Snart know that he appreciates their friendship. And you could see it in Snart's eyes as he was looking at him. He's like, okay, something's up here. Mick is never like this.
Yeah.
I'm just going to let him say his thing. Because you could see it. You saw it in Snart's eyes. He acknowledged that there's something going on different with Mick here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he definitely felt like the whole situation was weird, like just based on like facial expressions. So.
Yeah, so it makes me wonder at that point if Mick telling him this in 2013 is what leads to Snart being so emotional about losing him later when we see him abandon him a few episodes in.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it's hard to say because like he's gone back in time, but technically he's gone back in time after those things have already happened. But it's very
I know that's with the whole time travel thing. Can you go back in time and affect the past?
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing as when Mick was telling his younger self, you know, don't be like me, you got to be better. Well, How does that actually help?
Right, exactly.
I don't know, but it pulls back to the look in Snart's eyes, the way he was looking at him. You just saw understanding that there's something different about the way Mick is behaving right now. And that's why all he says is, I got it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, my God. That moment.
Yep. I know. They're very touching.
And then how do we end? We come to everybody back on the roof or whatever building that is, as Rip is showing up to pick up who is possibly going to be joining him for this next part of the mission. And everybody's there.
Everybody is there. And I was very confused for a minute, and I was like, Are they really all joining again? How's this going to work?
Yeah, it was really confusing because we've heard that nobody is supposed to be returning. There's been rumors flying that it's going to be a complete revamp, an entire new team.
Yeah, so this was definitely confusing, but at least it led to at least a couple people walking away. Because Carter and Kendra announced that they were walking away.
And did you squee?
Just a little. I was like, yes, okay, goodbye. I'm done with you.
See, and I just felt that was so weak. It was
I didn't care.
You didn't care, so you hated him so much at that point that you didn't care.
I just was done with them. I'm like, without Savage, we don't really... They haven't done enough with their storyline, so...
Yeah, well, I don't know how much I can say here. To me, it was weak, and it was disappointing because no matter how much we all were tired of them, or hated them, or disliked the storyline, or what Kendra was doing, or whatever, it doesn't matter what our reasons are, that was a disappointing send-off to them because they could have done so much better with the Carter and Kendra storyline, and I'll get to that much more at a later podcast. But after everything that they went through together as a team, all she did was say goodbye and thanks. And she said to Ray, "Oh, Ray," and he's like, "It's okay, don't worry about it. Go be happy." And she gave him a hug. She should have hugged each one of the team. She should have said personal goodbyes to each of them because this entire mission was about them, helping them.
Yeah, it's true.
She should have felt a lot more, and even Carter, because he looked like he was fully emerged again.
Yeah.
They should have been a lot more thankful, and I just feel like it seemed to me at this point in the episode and in the season, there was a lot of social media blasting Carter and Kendra and how much it seemed 85% or so of viewers did not like them and wanted them gone. And I have a feeling that the showrunners saw all of that and were just like, okay, let's write them off now. Let's be done with it. And gave them just this really weak send-off. Because, like I said, it doesn't matter how much we were all tired of them. That was too weak. It should have been better.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really disagree there. I was honestly ready to be done with them, so.
But I mean, even for you, Harley, as my podcast partner, and for all the viewers that, all of our feedbackers that have hated them, there should have been some redemption for all of you guys to at least, like, some redemption to bring you full circle and at least be able to say, okay, that was nice. You guys need to go, but I'm glad we finished your mission for you, or we saved your lives, or whatever it was. You guys, as viewers and listeners, needed to be able to feel that too, get closure to the frustration you've had about them, and you didn't get that.
No, but I mean, honestly, the closure was for me with that respect was killing Vandal Savage. So they accomplished that, and I was like, okay, I'm done with them. They can go.
See, and that's what makes me feel bad.
Yeah.
But like I said, that's This is going to lead into something later we will discuss later.
Yeah, we'll discuss this more in depth.
Yeah. All right. So they're saying their goodbyes, and what the hell shows up? Another Waverider. Well, it's not really another Waverider. It's another time ship, isn't it? Or is it the Waverider?
They said it was the Waverider. They're like, is that another Waverider?
Yeah. So I didn't know if they actually meant that. Did it look like the Waverider? It looked like the same ship.
I think it was supposed to be the same ship because this is all in the last, literally the last 30 seconds of the show. The Waverider shows up, everyone's confused, no one knows why it's there or where it came from, and this guy gets off of the ship and he announces that he's Rex Tyler from the Justice Society of America, and that, I'm just going to say all this all at once and then we'll talk about it, and then that Mick Rory sent him to save them all because if they get back on that ship, the Waverider, they're all going to die. And that's how they end it.
Wait, what? Back up.
Yeah.
First off, whoa, Justice Society. Okay, anybody who is any type of DC fan or comics reader would be excited because, whoa, what a tie-in to DC stuff.
Yeah.
And
that's cool.
That could lead to some major crossover events that are coming. I have a feeling that with Arrow, Flash, and Supergirl, that's where this is all going to tie in together.
That would make sense.
But, nitpick alert. Who is Rex Tyler? Who is he? Because I had to look him up. I was sitting here with Patty Spivot. She had to ask me, who the heck is that? She had to look him up. The first things ever were, she said, who's that? And then she looked at me and she said, I wonder how many people just Googled that guy's name. And I'm like, yes, exactly. It leads me to wonder, or to think that was a poor choice to go with. They should have used a more recognizable character. Unless you're a huge DC reader, you won't know anything about Rex Tyler, because who is that? That's just a name. It could be anybody. So I think using a name and a character that is not recognizable just weakened the ending that could have been so much more and have so much larger of a wow factor to it.
I don't know. I don't really think so, at least not for me. I mean, the Justice Society of America drop was something that pretty much everybody gets. I mean, I had no idea who Rex Tyler was, but yeah, I did pretty much immediately Google and kind of try to find it out. But I think it's kind of cool when they bring in some of the lesser known DC characters and kind of try to revive them and insert them into the storyline. And,
okay.
And they do kind of try to change things up, so it's not going to be exactly who this guy is in the comics. At least I don't think that's where they're going to go with it. I mean, I'm sure it'll be an homage, but it's not going to be, I don't think, exactly cookie cutter.
Okay, but understand what the point I'm trying to make is that for anybody that knows anything about comics, yeah, the mention of Justice Society will make you go, whoa, cool! But I had Patty Spivot right beside me. She doesn't know anything about comics, and I bet you half the viewers out there watching these shows are also not comic book readers. And all of them would have just went, who's that? And the moment and the wow factor would have been lost on them.
Yeah, I guess.
That's the point that I'm trying to make. So, because I had it, Patty was right beside me, and she just went, huh? So the ending was not exciting for her. It did nothing for her because she doesn't know. She had to ask me a bunch of questions. Then once she found out, then she's like, oh, okay, that'll be kind of cool.
See, I didn't know who it was either, but it didn't ruin it for me. I thought it was cool because I was it leaves all of these questions for me. So then I immediately want to go and find out more. And then I immediately want to know where they're going with it. But I have to wait 6 months or whatever.
But you know enough to know what the Justice Society is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about people like Patty who didn't know what that was either.
This is just me, but I think those people are actually the minority of the viewership. I think you have to be a pretty decent comic book nerd to even want to watch this show in the first place.
Well, yeah, I guess in some way. I mean, Patty's watching it because of me.
Exactly. I know. I was just about to say that. I was the only reason she's watching it is because of you.
Yeah. But she now does love it. And yeah, so it's just the feeling. I mean, even for me, I went, wow, just to say, that's cool. Who's that? And the feeling was lost already. It hit me and then I lost it because I'm like, what? So that's all I'm saying. I think they could have gone with someone more recognizable and it would have had that much bigger impact to end it on. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know obviously where they're going with this, but I don't know that they could have picked someone more recognizable unless they picked Batman or Superman, which they're not going to do.
Well, they picked Rex Tyler, and you did a little research for us because I want to give some info to our listeners that might not know just who the heck he is. So what'd you find out for us?
Yeah, I think very few people know who this guy is. So Rex Tyler is also known as Our Man, and he is a founding member of the Justice Society of America. And a little bit more like background, he was a scientist. So he invented some miraculous vitamin called, I don't even know how to pronounce this, Miraclo. Miraclo? I have no idea. Our Man, he was famous like in the golden age of comics. So this is someone they're resurrecting from like the 1940s era. Okay. And so some of the stuff's going to be a little bit cheesy, especially on his history. But basically what this vitamin does is it increases his like strength and vitality like well beyond what it should be for a normal human being, but only for the span of 1 hour, which is why he's called Our Man. Apparently, throughout his entire arc over, the years that he's in the comics, we learn that this vitamin, it's very addictive in nature. And so that kind of becomes part of his whole arc in the comics is struggling with addiction. And then, he does kind of make another appearance, back into the Silver Age. So like the Silver Age is like the 1960s. And that's when a lot of our characters that we know and love today were introduced. I think is that when the Flash and all of them were kind of introduced and like the newer iterations that we're all most familiar with. And so at that point, they kind of tried to bring him into that, and he appears in some of like the Justice League issues, and then eventually they just kill him off. What's interesting though is he gets killed off by a time-traveling villain named Extant. So I'm wondering, I'm going to do a little bit more research for our next podcast because I think that might be a clue. Okay. And then just a little bit on the Justice Society of America.
Right. Just, this is where I was confused. My knowledge of Justice Society of America is that it is the Earth 2 version of the Justice League.
Yeah, and you're not wrong.
Okay.
So the original origins of the Justice Society of America, it was created during this golden age of comics in the 40s and 50s. And then once everything kind of fell off, DC tried to kind of reinvigorate, and they reinvented basically their whole brand, essentially. They changed everything. They introduced new characters, and this is where you get the idea of Earth 1 and Earth 2, and so they put Justice Society of America on Earth 2, whereas the Justice League that we are more familiar with was on Earth 1.
Okay.
And then during Crisis on Infinite Earths, this was this was more recent, like in the 1980s. This is when they merged all the Earths into one reality, and they put the Justice Society of America kind of back where it belongs in like the World War II era, and they showed that these heroes were the predecessors to our current characters.
Okay, so this guy.
Comic book lesson.
There you go. See, and that filled our quota off of one of our polls. Somebody wanted some background knowledge, new characters, and we just gave that to you.
Yep.
So, Our Man, Rex Tyler, we'll have to find out what kind of powers and abilities he has, but he's on a time ship that's apparently the Waverider, and it's a different Waverider, and so we don't know where he's coming from, if he's going to be coming from the past or from Earth 2, because we know that Earth 2 is in this universe of TV shows amongst Arrow, Flash, and Legends, so.
That's true.
And you haven't watched Flash this week, so I want to say one more thing, and I can't.
Sorry.
Because there's something that happens on the Flash that could tie into where this guy came from.
Okay. Well, then I will keep an eye out for it.
So those of our listeners that also watch The Flash, I wonder if you know what I'm talking about.
They probably do.
Yeah. Well, that is our show. That was our episode. That was holy cow, what a finale wrap-up that was.
Yes, that was a lot.
But we have one more poll that we decided to save for the end here because the show ended the way it ended with what characters are leaving and staying and who they're introducing. And one of my questions was, who would you like to see added to the team for Season 2? And again, we have a top 3 out of the list. Number 1 was Jessie Quick from Flash, which I personally voted for. I think she would be a great addition because there's talk about on The Flash that you're not going to be able to have a show with 3 speedsters because we also have Wally West on there. You can't have a show that's supposed to be about Barry Allen and have 2 other speedsters on there with him. It would just take away. Yeah. So this is a very easy pick to see Jessie move over to Legends and learn her powers and abilities once she gets them.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
The second choice was Connor Hawke, which we all saw back in the earlier episodes this season, taking on the Green Arrow mantle, and that's someone they could very easily stop by in the future and pick up again. And then number 3, which I was surprised people voted for, Roy Harper from Arrow, who is also known as Arsenal.
I actually voted for all 3.
Did you? He was the Red Arrow, and he was actually one of my favorite characters on Arrow, and I wish he would come back. But if he does, it's a perfect chance for him to continue on and be a regular addition to these shows instead of being on Arrow. Although, if he goes to Legends, I will miss him on Arrow because I really like the dynamic with him and Oliver, so...
Yeah.
Yeah. I do want to mention, because out of the list that I put in there, I forgot to mention Constantine, and so there was a few votes for Constantine, but not enough to make the top 3. He could be a fun addition for sure. And then someone mentioned Vixen, and as soon as I heard that, I freaked out. Oh, Vixen would be cool. I really like her character. It should be neat to see her.
Yeah. After the season of Arrow, I'm over the magic stuff.
Are you? Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, Constantine and Vixen are the last people I want to see on our show.
Okay.
I'm
actually not a fan of Constantine myself, but Vixen I like.
No, I'm over this magic stuff. I don't like it.
Well, with honorable mention, 0 votes. The only one that got 0 votes was Superboy.
Yeah, apparently nobody wants to see Superboy.
Well, you don't watch Supergirl, so you're not caught up with how the finale ended. So the way it ended, if you don't mind me telling you.
Oh, no, you can tell me.
The last scene we saw was Supergirl and Martian Manhunter. They saw a meteor crashing to Earth, so they flew over to check it out, and it ended up being another Kryptonian space pod capsule thing.
Oh, okay.
The exact same one that Kara landed to Earth in, but we don't see who's inside. You see them open the hatch, and both of them look extremely shocked, and that's where the episode ends, and that's where the season ends. So I just threw Superboy in there because some of the speculation is that it could be a young Superman on his way to Earth, and he if something through some time mess up, whatever, it's a second version of him crash landing.
Gotcha.
So that's why I threw that in there. Well, thanks again, everybody, for all those answers. That was a lot of fun. Now we're getting to which was voted on as the second most favorite section of our podcast, the Nitpicks of the Week.
Form of water.
Yay! Here we go.
All right, Harley, what's your first, or what is your nitpick?
This one is more of a technicality. They didn't bring Snart back from the dead. And I was really hoping he wasn't dead, but now I'm kind of leaning towards he's pretty dead.
Yeah, and I'm going to totally agree with you because they never even addressed the possibility of him coming back.
They didn't, not at all, which makes me really sad.
Oh, and just with that final scene with Rory, it was really sad. And then once after I saw that, then and we started talking about it.
Yeah.
Off air here, it really sunk into me how much it really, really sucks that Snart didn't get to be part of the finale and help take Savage down.
Yeah.
The fact that they took that away, not only from Snart the character, but away from Wentworth Miller the actor, that really sucked. He did not get to take part in this finale.
I know.
After being a fan favorite all year, and I'm sure just as much as they saw all the social media hate for the Hawk people, I'm sure they saw how much love there was for Snart. So why they decided to not bring him in for the finale in some way and form more than they did, I don't know. That sucks.
It does, yeah. They must have had I don't know, maybe they really do need to get him off the show despite what people are speculating. So I don't know. We'll see. But he seems pretty dead, and I'm very sad. Because I loved him. So what was your nitpick?
Well,
your big nitpick.
Yeah, because we had a bunch of nitpick alerts throughout the episode, so I don't really have anything major to pick on. I agreed with yours, but I will add, which I already kind of talked about it. Not all the characters got to get their shots in on Savage. Ray, Jax, and Stein. They didn't get to, take out some of their frustration. on that, and I thought it would only have been fair for everyone to have gotten a few shots in, because they were all part of the mission. Savage hurt all of them in one way or other. It would have been nice to see.
Yeah.
Then the other thing, there's been so many rumors about the show revamping with an all-new cast for season 2, and yet almost all of them stayed. Now, I'm not complaining, because we've come to love each character in their own way, aside from the Hawk people, but that was a major change to the media hype, and it left me going, what? Huh? Nobody really leaves? Okay, that's cool, I guess, but, okay, let's go then. Next season 2.
I know, I had the exact same reaction. I was like, okay, I thought everyone was going to kind of go their separate ways, but I guess not. So we'll just have to see what they end up doing.
Yeah, that's it. That's what I came up for this week.
Yeah, it's good. I agree.
Now, we come to the number 1 voted favorite section of our podcast. It is when we all sign off and say goodbye.
Oh, no.
It is the quote of the week.
Yay.
Shape out an eagle!
All right. You know what I find special about the quote of the week, Carly?
What's that?
When I'm editing and we're going through the quotes and I have to edit in the actual video clips from the show, which, like we said before, I think is part of what really makes it stand out as everyone's favorite. I kind of relive those little segments of the episode because I'm looking at them and I'm looking at the video clip and I'm cutting out the video portion of it and just keeping the audio clip and whatever, and it makes me want to watch the episode again.
I bet.
Every time.
I bet it does.
So we've got a little bit to catch up on. We are 2 weeks behind on announcing winners of Quote of the Week. So from 2 episodes ago, where are we at, Harley?
Right. So the winner from Ruler of Time for the funny quote was entitled,
Who are you to stand up against me? Vandal Savage, destroyer of empire! Leonard Snart, robber of ATM!
and then for our more serious quote was Words of Wisdom.
If you love me, you will leave this place far behind and live a life unburdened by your past. It's easier said than done. Anything worth doing always is.
Nice. I like those two. Those were, I think actually Words of Wisdom, I think, was the runaway favorite. I don't think anybody voted for the other serious ones at all.
Yeah, no, I think so.
Okay, and then for last week's episode, Destiny, we also had a double quote, comedy and serious. So what are the winners of those ones, Riley?
For our funny quote, it was haircut.
Of course it was.
Of course.
If I can survive not being turned into Cronus, you can survive anything they throw at you.
Thanks. Keep it in mind.
Well, you better. Because if you tell the team I actually care, I'll shave your head.
And for our serious quote, I am no Pinocchio.
Shut me down!
There are no strings on me.
And that one is fitting to be our last winning quote.
I know. There's no surprise that that one won. I think it ran away with the votes. But.
Well, guys, we do have a finale double quote of the week. And nobody has told us if they like the double quote idea, a funny and serious one. Please let us know, because me and Harley really like it, and we're doing it again for a third time.
Yep. So if you don't like it, speak up now.
Yeah. So for this one, because it's quote of the week, and I know you guys are thinking, well, wait a second, how are we going to vote? And you guys tell us the winner. Well, we did already announce we're going to do an extra podcast, so we will announce this quote of the week on, what did we say it was going to be? On the feedback podcast or the season recap podcast?
The season recap podcast.
All right, so
that'll give everybody a lot of time to vote, actually.
Cool. So yeah, that one will come in I don't know, whenever we said, a week or two from now, whenever we decide. All right, so we have got 4 comedy quotes and 4 serious quotes. What do we have, Harley? What's number 1?
All right, for the funny quotes, number 1 is Birdie.
Bertie.
Incredible! You've gotten every answer correct tonight. Since when did you become such a history buff?
I guess I've developed a passion for it recently.
Okay, and number 2?
Motivational needs.
Come on. I never thought I'd utter these words, but I think we need a Nazi. Not funny.
I love it. All right, number 3.
KFC.
Every time they do that, I get hungry for chicken.
Which refers to...
Kentucky Fried Chicken.
And number 4.
Tardiness.
Oh, it's late. Time Master's never late.
Alright, so now, what do we have for our serious quotes?
All right, number 1 is mortality.
I'm still here, Captain.
And there you are, Gideon.
May I share something with you? I'm not ready to die.
We know that.
And number 2?
Number 2. Oh, just the names of these are going to make me cry all over again.
Oh, no.
Number 2 is things unsaid.
Mick, I don't do touchy-feely. If you got something to say, say it.
This wasn't a good idea. You're the best guy I ever knew. You may not think you're a hero, but you're a hero to me. You got that?
Yeah, I got it.
See you around.
Oh. And number 3?
Number 3 is ownership.
My journey, it seems, is only just beginning.
How does that work? Savage is 3 times dead.
The Time Masters are no longer a going concern due to our destruction of the Oculus. Someone needs to be responsible for protecting the timeline. Who better than a former Time Master? And any of you who'd like to join me?
And the last one.
And our final serious quote is intervention.
This is my life.
And your life will be waiting for you when you get back.
You really want me to do this?
I could never forgive myself if I kept you from it. My husband, the superhero.
That's a good one, too.
There we go. All right, Harley. Well, normally we would be coming to feedback.
I know. We're going to say that for a whole separate episode.
And because our listeners rock, I was a little worried there. Holy cow, a lot of the feedback came in today, so I was kind of wondering if we were going to reach our goal, but we did. So, we're going to cut our podcast short here. Well, probably not really short, is it? This is probably going to be our longest one yet.
Nope, it's really long.
So we're going to cut it off here, and feedback will come later. So in final notes, final thoughts of this episode, I don't know, there's one last thing I want to bring up, which I noticed was last episode they mentioned it, and then they kind of reiterated it this time. This whole season, the team has only been gone for 5 months. Like 5 months of their time, of them being away, they were gone for 5 months.
Yeah, except for the 3 that got stranded in 1958.
That's true, so they've got more time in it. It's just, I just realized they said that last episode, they kind of made a note of it, that they were gone for 5 months, so that just played into us talking about the effects of time travel and aging.
Right.
So, Ray and Kendra and Sara should all be 2 years older, while everybody else is only 5 months older.
Yep, that's what I think.
Yeah, so I just wanted to make a point of that, because it kind of came up, and I realized, yeah, that's interesting. That answered that kind of question.
It did.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's my turn to read these off. All you guys with the feedback, you figured it out. I know there's a little bit of confusion on our Facebook page. I think, I can't remember who was saying, one of our feedbackers had said it was hard to find our contact information because it's spelt with an S. I guess she spelled Cybercast, Cyber, which totally...
See, you make fun of me for spelling it. That's why I spell it.
Which is kind of funny because I had to explain to her that Cybercasts, the word cyber is short for Siberian Tiger. All my little company ventures, Cyber Tiger Productions and Cybercast, and the Cyber Movie Review, everything is with cyber, which is short for Siberian Tiger because I love Siberian tigers. They're my favorite animal. My best buddy in the whole wide world, my little cat that's sitting here beside me, his name is Cyber. So I kind of honor him in that way too. So that's why it's spelled S-I-B-E-R. And, but what was funny is when I first started Cyber Tiger Productions, I actually spelled it C-Y-B-E-R.
That is funny.
So
but
yeah.
And also, just so everybody knows, I do post our little blurb here within our every single blog post. So
the show notes on the Libsyn webpage.
Yeah, so where that little recap is, that pops up in your podcast feeder or on the website, wherever you're looking at it from. If you scroll to the very bottom, it lists all of our contact information.
And what this leads me to believe, though, is I wonder if we get to the end of the podcast and then we start talking about the contact info. If people think, oh, that's the end, okay, I've heard it all before, and they sign off, not realizing that every single episode we actually talk for another 5 minutes or so after we give the contact information. So
I don't know.
I just want to let everybody know right now that if you do cut it off at that point, you're going to have to go back and listen to all our podcasts again all season long just to hear the little fun tidbits we have at the very end.
I know, they've been missing out.
And that will just totally increase our download numbers, or...
There we go, exactly.
But seriously, guys, yeah, we just inject the contact information here at this point because we feel it's the proper place for it. We just finished answering feedback, and we want to let everybody else know how they can also join in the fun of sending us in feedback. So that's why we say it, and then we continue on afterwards with a few final words. So please listen to the very end, because quite often there's some fun little quips or things that we talk about at the very end that we save for last.
That's true. So where can they find us?
So, to say it again, you can join this discussion by submitting feedback to cybercastfan@gmail.com, and I'm going to spell it this time. cybercastfan@gmail.com. Normally, well, I don't know if deadlines really matter right now, but normally if the show stays on this Thursday, which I believe it is, we've been recording Friday, so 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Friday is when you can submit your feedback by. You can also join our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/group/Tomorrow's Legends. And you can find it by just doing a search for Tomorrow's Legends. Okay. You can also follow us on Twitter at Cybercast, and that's SIBERCAST. Definitely, we'll respond to you. If you want to tweet us, we'll respond. I know I'm not on there tweeting a lot for us, but I will reply to you. All these details and more can be found on our actual website. We do have a website, and it is tomorrowslegends.libsyn.com, and Libsyn is spelled Libsyn, in case that one's hard to find. You can subscribe to iTunes, download episodes, and actually leave comments on the website about each show if you wanted to. And in iTunes, be sure to rate us and review us, please. Just to answer one of our poll questions, you guys want the possibility of more fun things being added in, like interviewing people. Well, we need to get more ratings and more reviews. That will bump us up in the visibility. So, plus it just makes us feel good.
That's true. It does.
So that's how you do it, guys. And definitely, we'd love to hear from you. I think half of the fun of the show is interacting with everybody. You hear that on all the other podcasts. And it's true. It's fun to get to listen to you guys and hear what your thoughts and feelings are. And we get to respond to that because you guys quite often come up with things that we miss or don't think of, and it's a fun moment for us to go, oh, that's right.
Yeah, exactly.
So definitely get in and talk to us because me and Harley, we have fun. We love talking to each other. This is how it all started. We just love to share our feelings about the show. But it's equally as fun to have you guys be part of it with us.
Yep.
And that's all we got. I believe, Harley, it's feedback recording time, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It is also 12:15.
All right.
I'm fading fast.
All right. So for Harley's sake, we are now going to end this first part of the podcast. This is Flash signing off.
And this is Harley Quinn. I'm out.